action is Gabe, aka Calimdir. How you doing, Calimdir?
I'm good. I'm super excited. We have a really interesting set of deck lists that everybody brought. You talked about that with Radykin earlier. I'm just excited to see how it plays out. I'm excited by all the Xenon. I know you love that deck, and I have Radykin has converted me a little bit, so it's going to be exciting.
Yeah. Xenon's kind of been my baby these past couple of months, really ever since, especially once Banish got changed to 3 cost, even though this deck list shows it as 4 cost. It's in the 3 cost slot now. We just haven't updated that image yet. We'll work on that later in between rounds, I guess, to avoid confusion. But yeah, we've got kind of 2 of the more popular decks here with Xenon Interrogator on Lights Out Ace going up against Unearthly and Lights Out Ace are both tournament stalwarts. Lights Out Ace more known for his casting at this point, though, of course, more Instigators, Blister Wasp is the early game, the mid game of Interrogator, Ion, Banish, Dawnwalker, Obelisks. You know, just the number of obelisks is down to 2, keeping that low to the ground for now. And then who knows what's going on with that sideboard. On the other end, Unearthly bringing Argenport mid-range. Unearthly has been jamming this now for the past several weeks of the ETS and doing quite well with it and sticking with what he knows. So what do you think about these decks?
So the matchup, I previously thought Game 1 was fairly favored for Argenport.
Mm.
Xenon, you can get a couple 2-for-1s here and there, but for the most part, what Argenport's doing is more favored. But this build that Ace has brought, I know you tested with Ace for a while, and then I actually tested with Ace for a while, and he has a lot. If you see in his deck list, he's got the full 4 Death Strikes, full 4 Banish, and he's running Carnosaurs over the Umbran Reapers, which he was on, and I think that's going to put this version over the edge, and I think Ace is going to be favored in the first match. Post board, Unearthly has a couple options, but I still think it's leaning in Ace's favor, which is interesting because normally I would pick Unearthly for almost any match because he's such a good player, but I think just deck wise, this is going to be a really rough matchup.
Yeah, Unearthly's opting to go a bit lower to the ground than maybe traditional Argenport does with the 4 Tinker Overseer, so at least he'll be able to get on board. But I find a big key of this matchup is actually, you wouldn't think it with both decks being kind of mid-range, they don't mind as much who's on the play or who's on the draw, but those 4 Auric Runehammers, the difference in their power level based on you being on the play or draw, I find is huge in this matchup. It's the difference between being able to already have 1 or 2 units on board on the side of Xenon and getting to hold up Ion or Banish and not. And that is a really important interaction, whether or not you can deny that any value from Auric Runehammer, much less a 1-for-1 or a 2-for-1. And that becomes really interesting, especially with Xenon being not as reliant on Obelisk. This one's only playing 2, but still an Obelisk-based deck with some clunkiness to it. And it looks like the action's underway, so we're going to get into it here.
Oh yeah, we've got Lights Out Ace with less efficient power, but he's still going all the way up to 3 perfectly and then into Vera's favor, and Unearthly looking pretty good as well, but he doesn't have threats besides Valkyrie Enforcer, so it's going to be awkward trying to find something to deploy into this Sandstorm Titan and stuff.
And Lights Out Ace draws an undepleted power off the top, not going to be forced to use Vera's favor here, and can instead use Xenon Initiation or Annihilate to take out this Valkyrie Enforcer. Instead, just going to swing in with Instigator, though, and probably hold up the removal would be my guess. He could get Vera's favor out here to try and guarantee curving into Carnosaur harder. But wow, if this Valkyrie Enforcer sticks and Unearthly finds undepleted power, Weapon plus Protect can go a long way here.
Yeah, I think Ace is trying to get his 2-for-1 value with removal, but Unearthly's got that protect there, so
Yeah,
it could get really awkward really quickly.
yeah, it's really tempting as any deck with spot removal against Argenport to try and hold the removal until they commit a weapon to one of these units. And it looks like Lights Out Ace might get paid off for that here. No, we're going to see a second Valkyrie Enforcer. And this is Unearthly just being smart. Why put a weapon down when you know you're going to be able to put a weapon down next turn and hold up Protect?
Yeah, that's just excellent play from Unearthly. A lot of, like in Argenport, when you know people are gunning for you, and in such a meta that is hating on Argenport so strongly, it's just super important to know to not to take risks and to deploy your threats out more, and not offer as many 2-for-1s.
Yep. That is one of the drawbacks of Argenport is it's leveraging a lot of value, and depending on these weapons, and they set you up for natural 2-for-1s, right? If you put a Bloodletter on a unit and then that unit gets annihilated, you just got 2-for-1. As we see Unearthly opting to not put a weapon on these, right? Just Vanquish, hit for 6, hold up, Protect, and that's what we're seeing here. And that's going to be the story of this game is this Protect that I alluded to in the meta breakdown. It's about protects and sabotages in this matchup.
Yeah, that was really unexpected from Unearthly. I thought it's smart in a lot of ways because he's just trying to keep Lights Out Ace from playing cards, but eventually, Ace is just going to be the bigger deck. So Unearthly has to commit at some point, and he's finally doing it here.
Yeah. Now the interesting thing here, using Annihilate instead of Death Strike is the one big thing. But last turn, Unearthly, instead of using Vanquish, could have put a Bloodletter and made a 6/6 and swing into the Titan. But that's weak to Xenon Initiation, and we're kind of seeing that interaction there. And now, yeah, Annihilate gets blown out by Protect. Lights Out Ace still swinging with this 3/3. I guess going to opt to use the Carnosaur and just no. We're probably going to see Death Strike plus Wasp here, right?
Yeah. The other option being, Carnosaur or Xenon Initiation, the Instigator, and Death Strike. But I think he favors the Wasp.
Yeah. Take care of the 6/6, get the Wasp down. Unearthly's draw for that last turn was Bartolo. Lights Out Ace has a very good hand against that, and this is the power of these Blister Sting Wasps, where they're a 2-drop, but they're relevant in the mid to late game in these mid-range matchups. They're going to trade with something, especially because Unearthly's already used 2 silences. It's really, he has to find removal for this card.
Yeah, and that naked Bart right there is going to be super heavily punished here. He can even Ace can even gain 4 life off of this if he decides to give Ion Killer.
Yeah, I think Ace will go with the Carnosaur play here, but it's possible he goes with the Initiation Hold Up Abductor. They both have their positives and negatives, but getting the most expensive card out of your hand plus getting the biggest unit possible out on this board is nice because Xenon Initiation has a lot of flexibility still with a Blister Sting Wasp, and now your Carnosaur is also in play, so you can just turn that into a 7/7 if you want to.
Yeah, and even aside from all that, it's just the more tempo efficient play.
And here is the downside to this Argenport deck is when it gets weapon flooded against a deck with the right removal. We see it here. Unearthly is drawing powerful cards, but 3 units to 3 weapons is not the best ratio. And now Lights Out Ace gets to, his units are also doubling up as removal. And we see that here. So, now Unearthly just scoops it up, not seeing what he wants to see on that draw step, and Lights Out Ace just beaten down.
Yeah, and that's the power of a deck with 7 killer effects main deck against a deck that revolves so heavily on Aegis and protecting your Voltroning up some key units.
Yeah, like Carnosaur might not naturally be able to kill Tavrod, but it naturally kills everything else in the deck, especially Bartolo. And really, Argenport's trying to leverage what Bartolo can do with weapons, and Xenon does a really good job of shutting that plan down while still having, as we see here, Lights Out Ace going 4 main deck Death Strike, has planned for everything. So while Unearthly almost closed it out there, right? Played it beautifully, got those weapons down. Lights Out Ace took some risks with the timing of his removal, so Unearthly got that to leverage the protect. But in the end, just didn't quite find enough gas off the top. Instead, just finding too many weapons, not enough extra units to push through. And now we're in boards, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. So what are you thinking is coming in from Unearthly side?
Um, off of Unearthly, I expect Sabotage to come